Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. We are so excited to have the Northeast Georgia History Center's interim director here this morning, and I'll tell you a little bit about him. Mary Bob is off jet setting, so I will be the voice of Friday Morning Coffee this morning. How many of you are members? All right, and if you're not a member, how many of you attend some of the forums? And yes, they're fantastic. So we've enjoyed those over the years. For the 6 years I've been in this role, we've coordinated a monthly bus whenever we can to take advantage of those programs. But without further ado, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Peter Gordon. And Mary Bob left me notes. The Northeast Georgia History Center is pleased to announce Peter Gordon as its interim executive director. Gordon brings decades of experience in education, leadership, and community engagement to this role and will guide the local history museum through an exciting new chapter. Gordon's journey in Gainesville began in 1981 when he joined Brenau Academy as a social studies instructor, fostering young minds at the prestigious boarding school for young women affiliated with Brenau University. After 7 years, he expanded his horizons by participating in a cultural and educational exchange program in Japan. Upon his return, he served as an instructor and a program manager for Linear Technical College's adult literacy program. In 1992, Gordon joined Alachi Nature Center, which is probably where many of you will recognize his face from our involvement there, initially as an exhibit manager and later as an education director, a role he held for 25 years. During his tenure, he was instrumental in transforming Alachi into one of the most respected nature centers in the Southeast. His contributions to environmental education earned him the Eugene Odom Professional Achievement Award from the Environmental Education Alliance of Georgia in 2018. Gordon retired from Alachi Nature Center in December of 2020. His deep roots in the Gainesville community and his expertise in fostering connections align seamlessly with Northeast Georgia's History Center's mission to preserve and share the region's rich history. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over the mic. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Vicki. Let's see, I've got one. I think I'm linked up. Can everybody hear me okay? It's terrific to be here. Whoops, John told me right off the bat not to stand right there, and I went ahead and broke. Sorry, John. It's very nice to be back and to see so many friends and familiar faces here at Lanier Village. Thank y'all for having such a beautiful day for me to attend as well. So this is really quite a nice place to be in springtime, I think, with the grounds you have and the lake so accessible and so good. I'm very glad to be here, and thank you for taking out a time in your mornings to visit with me this morning. In a new role, I'll be coming up my third month at the History Center. On March the 3rd, we'll mark a third month there, but who is counting the days? I am the interim director of the History Center, and I'm very excited at what I've been able to learn about its accomplishments and its mission and what the future holds for it. And I wanted to give y'all, if you're not that familiar with it, many of you are, just kind of give you an update of where we're standing as an organization, but also give you a little background on what we do. So thank you again for attending. Why don't we get started? My rule of, we can wait to the end for questions, but my rule, if you have a question, just go ahead and ask it, and we'll take a break, and I'll answer it as best I can. So let's move on. There we go. Okay. Our official title is the Northeast Georgia History Center at Brenau University. Many folks assume we are part of Brenau. A simple explanation is the building belongs to the History Center, a nonprofit. The ground underneath it belongs to Brenau. So we are on the Brenau campus. Sometimes that causes a few problems when things are delivered. It'll go to the Brenau post office, and we'll be looking for something for a week on end, and suddenly I'll get a call from the post office at Brenau and says, we have here something for you that you need to come pick up. So, and we're located at 322 Academy Street. For me, this has been kind of a full circle because I came to Gainesville in 1981 to work at Brunel Academy, which was a remarkable experience for me on the Brunel campus. I worked there for about 8 years, working with young ladies in a boarding school. Brunel Academy is no longer with us, but every time I come to work, I see Academy Street, and it brings back a lot of memories. Okay? Our mission statement. Typically, mission statements should be brief and to the point so that every staff member and board member could, if asked to repeat the mission statement, to do it immediately. This one's a little bit long-winded, so it would take me probably a few cue cards to be able to say it correctly. But you get a sense that we are dedicated to preserving and sharing our regional history and being our community's pathway to history education. And for many of you who have been here for a while or lived in this community, or those of y'all who have moved into this community, richness is a great adjective to describe the history of our area. It's a remarkable place for a lot of reasons. Because I worked at a nature center for almost 30 years, natural history is an important part of what I think about when I look at an area. But I particularly like to see the intersection between our cultural history and our natural history. There are forces that happened millions of years ago that created a remarkable piece of earth called Northeast Georgia, and the cultural history kind of paralleled that. Both are very, very rich in terms of diversity, in terms of the unique forces that kind of created it, both cultural and natural. So I think that makes us stand apart in a lot of regards because of that great natural history we have. It's spawned a terrific cultural history. Okay? And we have exhibits. A Land of Promise exhibit kind of kicks off a chronological tour through our exhibit, going back to Paleo and archaic Native Americans that lived here, right up to the earliest settlers, and on through to our modern kind of contemporary history. We have folk art, especially the pottery. I lived in, as Vicki said, I worked and lived in Japan for a year, and I lived in central Japan near the city of Nagoya. And satellite towns just within an hour of Nagoya were these pottery communities. And we look at our pottery and see hundreds of years or maybe decades of years of folks in Gillsville or Commerce or other areas practicing that trade. In the Japanese, there was thousands of years where a particular community would be a pottery community. And so it's kind of a neat parallel here, you know, to see the rich history of pottery in our area and compare it to, you know, a little bit older cultures. That same sort of thing. It's in the soil. It's in the soil, it's in the history, it's in the culture. Okay? Many of you probably, unless you've gotten a special trip, don't know we have a full basement downstairs that's our cultural kind of archives. We have a curator, Leslie Jones, who's in charge of this down here. All kinds of items turn up at the History Center. People find them in basements, they find them in old factories. And we're constantly kind of looking at and analyzing artifacts that come in. And I brought a couple, if I can interrupt real quickly, that a man named Sanford Loaf. How many of you know Sanford Loaf? Do you know Sanford? He's a character. He's a cultural artifact in his own right. He came by unannounced at the Nature Center, at the History Center, just a couple weeks ago, and he said, I just want to make sure you were the same person I thought you were. And I thought, why are you coming out of retirement? But anyway, he had a box with him. And with this box right here, I don't know if you can see this. Can y'all look right here? I said, what in the heck are these? This is metal, and you can see this is a figure of a bat. It's mounted on wood. I said, what do you have there? And he says, I've got hundreds of these. He was exaggerating a little bit. I've got a bunch of them. These apparently his dad got from New Holland Mills. And back in the early part of the 20th century, when the mill was there, quite a few of the employees could not read or write. And so when fabric was coming off the rolls there, the way they identified it was to stamp it with figurines. So they knew a particular roll was going to a particular place because that was the one with the bat on it. okay? Or in this case here, one with a pair of rabbits on it. Aren't these unique? Apparently covered in ink, stamped down on the roll, and there was the identifying sort of key there for it. And I've got 3 or 4 more in the office he left with me. He said, just kind of keep them. I'll come back and get them, and that was a month ago, so we'll see. I don't know exactly what the status of these are, if we're going to give them back to Sanford or he's going to donate them to the museum. But it's amazing, and it would amaze y'all, how many of these people show up with things that are particularly unique, singular sort of things that represent the culture and the history of our community. I'd pass these around, but you can see they're a little bit dusty, so. Okay. All right. Again, this PowerPoint kind of jumps around a little bit, but I think my favorite exhibit at the museum is the N.C. White collection. How many of y'all have seen that? It is a very, very, very beautiful exhibit. N.C. White was a photographer. He and his son had a shop on the square, and he took photographs, and the wonderful thing about him is that it's a documentation of our community over the years. His door was open to everybody. So not only was the white population of Gainesville allowed in, but African Americans were allowed in as well. And right now we have our wall is covered in honor of Black History Month. We've got many of his photographs he took of the Black community here in Gainesville over the years. So terrific photographs. So we have about 40,000 of the negatives that were left behind. Some of them are nitrate, some of them are glass, and but we have them there at the center. And it's a beautiful, beautiful exhibit, and really worth the price of admission to come and see it if you haven't visited. Okay. Those of y'all who have visited may know that we have a number under each photograph because we don't know who the subjects are. And we have pencil and paper there. If folks can walk in and they identify someone, then we ask them to write down the information if they can. This lady found a picture of her father on the right here. So, so she's holding it there. Okay. Again, we're cut off a little bit with that slide, but just more of the exhibits you can see here. A lot of boys and girls and moms and dads, when they come through, do a scavenger hunt, basically going through the museum and the different displays and seeing what they can find and hopefully learning a little bit about our history in the process. Okay. We have a schoolhouse there at the center that has artifacts from pretty much a lot of the different schools, from high schools to elementary schools throughout the community. So this is construction of it. Some uniforms, Gainesville High, cheer sweaters. And you see kind of the renovation that took place. Again, pretty much all of our exhibit building is done in-house. With help from different agencies that provide certain things for us in terms of that, but it's pretty much something our staff will do. One of the really unique things about the History Center is our digital studio downstairs. And we really have, I'm not sure it parallels what y'all have here, but it's very good. We can do oral histories down there. We can produce videos. We can do a lot of audio work as well. Here's Glenn, our former director, playing a character. And so that goes on tape, and we can put it out on our Facebook page, put it out on our website as well. Share it with school groups and community groups. So it's really a nice asset that we have that makes our museum and our center pretty unique. Here we are doing a destination, a time travel adventure, and here are Lewis and Clark, which happens to be Glenn Kyle, on the left there as well. And again, these are wonderful, bring history to life. This is a wonderful sort of asset that we have. Here's probably Hall County's and Northeast Georgia's best living historian, Johnny Vardaman, giving an oral history interview. And Johnny's been an integral part of and a supporter of the History Center over the years. Okay. I'd like to, Leslie, our archivist and curator, formerly did 15-minute videos about a particular artifact that came in. She'll research where it was produced, where it was found in Hall County, and in doing so, she'll give a wonderful little snippet, informative little snippet of the culture and things that happened in our community over the years. So we hope to bring that back in the near future. Okay. Many of you know the Freedom Garden. It's on the Academy Street side of the building. Commemorates our veterans from Northeast Georgia who fought in 20th century wars. It's a really nice and tranquil place, a great place to reflect. I received a call the other day from a man who lives in Marietta, and he heard a rumor about a place in Gainesville, Hall County that perhaps had his dad's name on a plaque or on an obelisk. And I asked him what his father's name was, and he gave it to me. And I got his number, and I walked out into the garden and kind of looked, and there it was. And so I called him back, and he was overjoyed the fact that it was there. He was writing a book, or at least updating a book that his dad had written about his World War II experiences. And so we were pleased to be able to share that information with him, that his dad's service was commemorated here in Gainesville, Hall County. Okay. The White Path Cabin is a tremendous place. If you're looking at this, let's see, can I get a pointer here? Okay, it'll go as far as that, but not up to the screen. If we look on this side of the cabin, see the step right there in the middle? There's a dog trot right there. Does everybody know what a dog trot is? Know the term? I think it's one of my favorite terms. Let's go to the dog trot. Okay, in between, on the left side, on this side of the cabin, that's an 18th century cabin right there. On the right side of that step, that's an early 19th century addition that was brought in. White Path was a Cherokee chief who lived up on the outskirts of Ellijay. He was a traditionalist, and those of y'all know a little bit about Southeastern history. The Cherokee were one of the civilized tribes. The Cherokee, the Creek, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, who am I leaving out? The Seminole. These were kind of first contact Native American tribes, and they attempted to get along with the growing European American kind of advancement was coming into their territories by taking on a lot of the cultural sort of attributes of the growing American quote-unquote culture. White Path was a resistor. He thought that was a bad idea, and eventually he was round up like the other Cherokee, many of the Cherokee, and he died along the Trail of Tears. But his cabin was brought from Ellijay. Don Cooley was instrumental, dad of Count Cooley, many of you know, in bringing it down, James Mathis as well. And so it's there right on our property, and it needs a little bit of repair. We're going to have some good folks from Foxfire up in Raven County come down and take a look at it and see what we can do to kind of spruce it up a little bit. But it's a wonderful asset for our History Center and worth a visit if you can come out. When you come out to visit, you certainly should look at it. It's a beautiful cabin. Okay. Group tours. We'll have a lot of group tours coming in. We hope to have more coming in the future. Many of them are homeschool groups that'll come through. School groups will come in as well. We had, yesterday we were supposed to, this is kind of the funny things when you do transitions, and I hope y'all won't take this in a negative sense about the History Center. But we received a phone call about a month ago from a school district who will remain anonymous, but a nearby school district. And they said, we're looking forward to our trip coming out to the History Center. And I looked at the calendar and I said, what trip? And they said 175 of kids are coming and we're going to be there. And we've been looking forward to this trip. Well, somehow it did not get put on the calendar. And so we kind of discovered it, that trip, and we basically said, yeah, we're going to do it. I think my philosophy at the Nature Center was, we'll make it work. Okay, we're going to make it work to the best of our ability. And I've tried to bring that idea to the History Center. Okay, this is not ideal, but we're going to make it work. Was it Emerson that said there's a divinity that shapes our ends? 2 days ago, the school district called and said, we're sorry, but we've had to cancel. So we won't be coming in. We were ready for them. We were going to give it our best shot, you know. Yeah, it worked out. But we have lots of group tours. One of the things I think I was brought on to do is to give the school systems, the schools in town, a reason to come. And I think we're doing that. Strengthening our programs, being more accessible to the schools and teachers, helping them wherever we can. And we hope there'll be a reciprocal sort of thought that, okay, let's go visit the History Center again. Okay. And again, because boys and girls can come and just enjoy demonstrations, some active hands-on things. This is a program we offer as part of a general program to the center. It's Early American Toys and Games. So the kids are out there in front of White Pass Cabin and they're jump roping and they're rolling hoops and they're playing with tops and other things. And it's just a fun interactive activity for them. We have travel trunks that goes in the schools as well. Maybe schools that can't afford the time or the expense to come in on a field trip can get a travel trunk on a particular topic and get it for a very reasonable price from us and use it in their classrooms. Homeschool days are big days at the center. It's amazing how many people are homeschooling their children. I mean, I thought, well, this is a big area for it, and then you're staggered by even more. We had one back in January. January's homeschool day, and it was held on January the 27th. Remember, that was the snow day. That's when snow hit south of us. And we looked at the registrants for that. We had folks from Albany, Cordele, we had a Florida family sign up. They were traveling from great distances to come to the homeschool day. Well, we thought this is terrific. But then that snow and the ice kind of interceded. We still had 175 people that came to our celebration that day. And I'm told by staff that, you know, back during our heyday, we'd have 200 to 300 sometimes that would come on a homeschool day. So it's a huge population, a constituency for us out there, so to speak. And it's a popular part of what we do. There's our schedule. We just did a African American culture and traditions last week. It's terrific. The African American community in Gainesville supported us a great deal. We had performances and dances and other things. We had food tastings. It was a very successful event, and we look forward to this other parts of our schedule coming forward. Okay. There's Glenn as a yeoman farmer. Lots of crafts, lots of demonstrations, opportunities to be photographed and video and in period costumes. What's been particularly fun for me are these monthly forums, and thank you all for your support regarding them. Here's our schedule. We've had the rock and roll, we've had the soldier's journey. Those y'all attended our last forum. We had live music beforehand. A blues guitarist played some of the best music of Capricorn Records, and that was the focus of the program. We've got a real treat scheduled for March. Many of you may know Jennifer Seska in town. She's the conservation coordinator for the State Botanical Garden of Georgia. She's going to come and talk about the historical grasslands of Georgia. Most folks don't know that we had prairies in this state, and we had buffalo roaming across Georgia and other grassland animals. Those were pretty much destroyed or became part of farms or were covered up or whatever. But Jennifer's going to talk about the restoration of those historical habitat in Georgia. And if any of you have ever listened to Jennifer present, she is a remarkable ball of energy. So it'd be a tremendous program to come see. She's funny, she's entertaining, she's extraordinarily knowledgeable. And in terms of the botanical world, this is an internationally acclaimed person. So Gainesville has an extraordinary resource right here in the middle of the town. So try to circle that one. That'll be March 11th, Jennifer Seska, and it would be time well spent. Okay. Here's one we did back in January, A Soldier's Journey, with guest speaker Tom Gordon. That's my father there on the left there. And my oldest brother, Tom, who's a journalist and a writer, gave a presentation about his experiences. You know, nepotism is a good thing when you work at a nonprofit. So, you know, I always can pick up and call folks. So this was we had a tremendous turnout. About almost 100 people came to this one at the center. It was a terrific way to start the year and a great program. So there's Tom, that's my brother, there in the corner. Okay. We also hope to, many of them might be familiar with our Chautauqua series, our summer interpretive series, where actors and his historical interpreters will act out the part of a particular figure. We hope to get that squared away again this summer. Stay tuned for information about that. A good way to try and again spend the summer days at the History Center. Then again was a Bite-Sized History podcast by the center as well. Again, the audio-visual stuff we used to do, it's kind of staggering to me to be a relative newcomer, what we used to produce and put out there for the community. So this is a great roadmap, a blueprint for me to kind of see what we can do again when we're at full power and full staffing. Where we're going to go with these things, it's just stay tuned, because I really feel confident that we will be there again. Okay. Particularly exciting program for me is a program called Gainesville Reads. This is a literacy program for young learners. One-on-one tutoring, volunteer tutor will work with students. We run this program on Wednesday, Thursdays, and Friday afternoons. And we're excited to say that we're at full capacity right now. We have 27 students, 27 tutors, and this program can only go forward. And again, when you hear the news, the post-COVID news about where we are as a country, not just the elementary schools, but all the way up through high school, how our literacy skills are really suffering. This is I think a program that's very timely and very valuable service that we provide. So if come by a Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday afternoon, you can see it at work. It's really an exciting time. At the Nature Center, we had a nature preschool we started out there, and it was, to me, one of the great things of the morning to see little legs come out of a mom and dad dropping them off, and they're running to their classroom. We see the same thing here. We'll see boys and girls, moms and dads will drop them off for an hour session, and here they are running to meet their tutor. So it's a lot of fun to see that enthusiasm and be part of that at the History Center.
Imagine where you have the space to put 27 students. 27.
What was that phrase I just said? We'll make it work. You know, out in the atrium area, we'll have tables spread out there. We'll have them back in our education center hall back there. The hallway down there, they'll be there on the busiest days. Wednesday's our busiest day for this program. The other days we have plenty of room. So yeah. And if you're interested in being a tutor, please let us know, because right now we have all the tutors we need, but folks can, as being a volunteer, the first rule of volunteers is volunteers can come or go. Ours are committed, but if you're interested in learn more about this program, just let me know. It's a tremendous one.
Student just once a week, not all 3 days.
They meet them just once a week. Great question. They'll come once a week, and either a Wednesday, a Thursday, or a Friday. And Wednesday's our most most populated day. So there's kind of space available on Fridays. We have room for it. We can grow it, but right now our staff considers us fully enrolled. Okay. All right. We have different levels of membership, and we've got a brand new membership brochure here that'll be coming out. We dropped it off at the printers yesterday. But here's a black and white copy, give you the idea of the different types of memberships. Membership is a valuable thing, especially if you're going to come to the forums. It means free admission to the forums and a lot of other programs at the History Center. So I can talk to you a little bit more about the membership possibilities after the program. Okay. Always looking for volunteers. Our staff is a minimal staff right now, so we have an extraordinary number of volunteers, board members, people in here in this audience right now that have been essential for keeping the History Center going. And so, you know, if you feel like you have some time and energy to volunteer, we'd love to talk to you. Okay. Do you have a question for the speaker? Yes. Hey. Okay. Hey.
Is the photography exhibit a permanent exhibit?
But it is a permanent exhibit. It'll go through iterations where we've got Women's History Month coming up, so we might swap some things out to emphasize photographs of women. We have all these old Brunel photographs of the class of 1920. And the quality of these photographs are such that you think that here's an actress or a model or whatever that's just dressing in period piece because the clarity and the sharpness of the images is so good. So it's a permanent exhibit. It's a beautiful exhibit. We are, yeah, we've, you know, as I say, we're storing 40,000 of these negatives downstairs. And yeah, it's an important part. Yes, sir. Hey. Jack Bailey.
I'm old and I forget. Who are the people that were responsible for founding the center?
Well, that's a good question, Jack. I can remember when I first came here to Gainesville in 1981, the History Center, so to speak, was over at Green Street Station, the old fire station there. And you know, James Mathis, John Jacobs were particularly Jack and the wonderful doctors here, Pat and Jack, were essential as well. It was a dream for many people that we have, our community have it. And you know, the 80s were an interesting time for us. A lot of cultural institutions existed, but there's a sense that we can bring more to our community as it grows. And I think folks with vision really were essential in creating the History Center. So, and thanks to Jack and Pat Bird as well.
You mentioned the trunks that you could send out when people couldn't come to you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe a little bit about what were in those trunks? Do they keep them? Were they copies? Were there things in the kids could keep?
They are loaned on basically about a 2-week basis for the classroom, and there are real historical artifacts in there. There are lesson plans to help teachers plan for the use of these particular things as well. So the World War II trunk might have, you know, basically uniforms, helmets, other things that were part of the experience for soldiers in World War II. So there's a variety of them there. Good question.
You show a lot of great exhibits. Are all of these permanent, or do you get traveling exhibits that come through for a period of time?
Great question, Strother. We have some exhibits that are temporary, and we'll replace them ourselves. For example, we've got an exhibit for the Rotary Club. The Rotary has been a great supporter of the History Center over the years. But it's going to be a temporary one where we're going to break it down eventually and make space for an Olympic exhibit that basically show some of the artifacts from when Gainesville was part of the hosting of the 1996 Olympics. We have got a brand new exhibit I can say right now that's in process due to the great generosity of Bob Swazowski and Wanda Wazowski. We're going to open a special exhibit dedicated to the World War I, World War II, Korea and Vietnam of Northeast Georgia, how the war affected the Northeast Georgia region. So that is underway right now, and we hope we hope to have it done by Memorial Day, completed by Memorial Day and open to the public then. So, yes, hey.
Hi, I wondered what your Chautauqua exhibit exactly consisted of. I went to Chautauqua last summer, and it was the most unbelievable
At the History
experience.
Center or
No,
at
no,
the,
no.
oh, up in New York, the real place,
Right.
the real
So
Chautauqua.
I wondered what this center, Chautauqua.
Well, you know, it's interesting because that was one of those terms when I was in a history class. They talk about the Chautauquas up in New York, and I thought, you know, what is that, you know? And especially in the South, well, it was basically, if y'all know the history of that word, back in the late 19th century into the early 20th century, up above New York City, where it's fairly cool in the summertime, people would sit out on, visiting under shady elm trees and on grassy lawns, and they would discuss a topic, and it'd be all kinds of cultural ramifications and just thoughts about what was going on. So our Chautauqua was a little bit different. Typically what we've done is that we will bring in a historical interpreter who will come in and impersonate a particular individual, and they'll give a speech in character. The first 30 or so minutes, 40 minutes is in character. Then that particular interpreter will answer questions in character, and then he or she will answer questions later on as a historical interpreter, what the challenges of it were. So in the past, we've had Andrew Jackson, we've had, who else have we had? Thinking of here, maybe some other presidential or other characters are here, Abraham Lincoln, just an idea to give folks an idea of what historical interpretation is all about. So I've got some particular ideas for this summer. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Is it a one-day presentation?
We typically do it once a month in the summer months. So if things go well, it'll be June, July, and August, okay, at the center. And outside. Or it was outside, but you know, that's the one big difference. We moved it inside because the heat can be pretty. It's an interesting thing about that building, y'all have been, but it's a perfect. In the morning, we've got eastern sun coming right through that building, and it really warms it on the cold days. But during summertime, I bet it's pretty difficult to be inside that building. I haven't experienced the summer day looking out that glass yet, but we'll see soon. But stay tuned for more information about Chautauquas. Okay?
Peter,
Hey.
I always have to ask this. What is the fundraising goal for this year?
That's a great question.
Peter, you didn't ask him to say that.
The fundraiser, well, that's a great question. You know, that's, let me see if I can say this. We have a very good board, a very active board, and I think I'm among friends here. I can say this. You know, when my wife and I were driving back from Canada. We took a road trip up to Canada, and we were driving back, and a good friend in the community who happens to be on the board called me on my phone, and I thought, this is a missed call. She's calling, she meant to call Stephanie instead because they're lifelong friends. And she asked me, would you be interested in serving in this position? And this was late October when I got the call. And I think I told you it wasn't until early December till I took the job. So it was a lot of reflection and thinking about it. In the early years when this organization was formed, and especially when we moved into the big building, there was extraordinary support from the community. And that endowment that was created then is kind of what's keeping us going, because we really don't have a significant amount of income coming in right now. That hopefully is going to change with, again, giving people a reason to give to the center, that they're confident. You know, I like it in a sense to, what do you feel confident about something, then you invest in it. Well, that's what we're trying to do, I think, during this interim period, is to get folks to believe that this entity can exist and can thrive and be a real asset to the community. And then I think that support will come. I can honestly say to you, Jack, and ask that question, I don't know that answer. I don't know. What we just, we are alive and our heart is beating. We're not on any kind of life, extension, whatever. We're taking it day by day. And, schools are reaching out to us. Forums are getting good response. I think we're moving in a very, very positive direction. And I think that's what the community in Gainesville Hall County needs. It's just a signal that indeed, the History Center is worth it. It's worth supporting. It's a valuable asset and resource to our community. So that's the non-answer on my part, and I apologize for that, but that's kind of the best I can give you. Mr. Jack Bailey.
What are most of the visitors? Are they school age? Are they out of town? What are most of the people that you see visiting?
That's a great question. We get a lot of school age and family visitation due to our formal programs. The odd visitor is someone, and this happened at the Nature Center as well. I never knew this was here, was a response we got. I've lived in Gainesville all my life, but I've never been to the History Center. We get a surprising number of people that say, hey, we just stopped by because we've never been here before. Many people that we see that come in are from out of town, and I like to classify those visitors into, well, they got 30 minutes to kill before a meeting, so they're running through. More often than not, we'll get folks that come in, and they're the 3-hour visitors. You know what I mean? They come in and they look at everything, and then they circle back around and look at things in particular they liked, and then they'll come and talk to our staff. Those people are really, really exciting kind of visitors to the center, and ones we like to try our best to stay in touch with and give them a reason to come back. Museums are hard in that regard, because once you go to see a museum, you see an exhibit, you think, oh, I've seen this, has it had anything changed? For a small staffed history center, we do a pretty remarkable job of turning things over. So we are not hiring a construction company in to build this new war exhibit. This is going to be in-house. We're making our decisions now. 2 people are pushing that exhibit, and they'll be most responsible for it. We do things in-house, and just in my humble perspective, it's remarkable what we do with the kind of small staff that we have. So.
Tell us about the resources in the gift shop, the museum shop.
Great question, Pat. Our gift shop, and gift shops are kind of a dying breed in some centers, because, they make money, but maybe a little bit or whatever. Ours is a terrific resource because we have books that you really can't find any other place except in our shop. It's a wide variety of, many of them locally authored and produced books that, are very attractive and should be almost a must list of books for anybody living in this community, to know about the tornado, to know about civil rights in our community, to know about other traditions and so forth that are here. So it's a beautiful little shop. The books are my favorite, but there's other little artifacts that are there as well that are perfect. If you run a gift shop and you have kids coming in, you're going to have little, Nancy Griffith, the songwriter, she say little plastic objects. There's plastic objects in there. That a little bit of a historical sort of thing, but also something that a child can afford if they're going to pay out of their own pocket or whatever. It's a nice shop. The books are my favorite. Tremendous books. Okay? Oh, one other thing I'd like to, back to the money thing. For those of y'all who have been part of our community and know, a fundraiser for us that we would do every year was called A Taste of History. And we're pleased to announce that October the 9th, 2025, we will have a Taste of History celebration. And details to follow. We're going to be at the Civic Center. We've reserved a spot there. It'll be a luncheon, a lot of fun, and an essential fundraising tool for us that we're glad to bring to the community again. So, what else am I leaving out? Dr. McGlaughlin over to the left.
Just time, because we we have talked about it at our church. You haven't mentioned it. Do you have any exhibits or anything about maybe the history of religion or churches and things in this area? Because I know there's some really old ones scattered around, because First Presbyterian here next year, 2026, will be celebrating its 200-year centennial foundation. And do you know much about the other groups, or do you have much about that area?
Well, we, you know, on our African American Cultural Traditions homeschool program, we had a number of representatives from the First Baptist Church of, they like to say, on MLK, on Martin Luther King Boulevard, which is the oldest black denomination in our community. It was celebrating its 190th anniversary, 189th, somewhere there. We don't have an exhibit per se, but I think that's a tremendous idea in terms of looking at the history of the churches here in town, how long have the denominations been here, you know, what were their kind of historical patterns, where did they come from, so forth. So no, not so much as specific towards the churches, but that'd be a terrific one to look at, Gary. Let us know, and we can talk more about it and see what we could do with the temporary celebration of the church. Okay, good. All righty, well, thank you all again. There's some information up here that I can form schedule. I've got my card up here. I can stay and answer any questions you may have. And again, thank you so much for coming out. I know you have a busy day, so I appreciate very much the opportunity.
A tremendous thank you to Mr. Gordon for being here. We're so excited for the programs you'll be offering this year and are happy to be supporters. Have a great day.